The royal rumor mill is buzzing.
Yes, 4 hands, 2 princes, and a piano.
What started as a royal hobby quickly turned into a media storm when Prince William's secret piano lessons were exposed. Laughed at by critics and even mocked by a world-famous pianist. No one expected what would happen next, but on the night of his live performance at the Royal Albert Hall, everything changed. What unfolded wasn't just a royal recital, it was a powerful moment of redemption, raw emotion, and pure talent. Stay tuned as we reveal how Prince William silenced his critics and stunned the world. The night royalty was put to the test. The evening started like any other high-profile royal event, filled with elegance, sparkling chandeliers, and the soft hum of classical music floating through the grand hall. The Harmony for Hope Gala was a night dedicated to charity, bringing together dignitaries, artists, and philanthropists under one roof. Invitations embossed with gold leaf had been sent to the cream of society, promising an enchanting evening of culture and goodwill. For Prince William, it was another duty to perform, another evening to embody the grace and poise expected of a future king.
As my heir, William now assumes the Scottish titles which have meant so much to me. He succeeds me as Duke of Cornwall and takes on the responsibilities for the Duchy of Cornwall, which I have undertaken for more than 5 decades.
But what no one expected was how this elegant night would suddenly crack open, shifting from polished perfection into something much rawer and more personal. Amid the flowing conversation and delicate notes from the grand piano, the world's most famous pianist, known for his fiery technique and larger-than-life presence, did something extraordinary. In front of the royal audience, he threw down a challenge. Not just a challenge to anyone, but directly to Prince William himself. It wasn't a challenge about crowns or crownsmanship, nor a test of protocol or political finesse. No, it was a challenge to the man beneath the royal title, the person behind the polished public image. The pianist's words hung in the air, daring William to step out from the shadows of royal expectation and show the world something more raw, something more real. Would Prince William accept? Would he retreat into the safety of royal tradition, keeping the stiff smile and careful gestures? Or would he seize the moment and rise to this unexpected test? The room seemed to hold its breath. Guests exchanged glances, wondering what the prince's next move would be. Chandeliers sparkled overhead, reflecting the tension that had suddenly filled the air. Classical melodies paused, replaced by the quiet hum of anticipation. This was no longer just a gala. It had become a turning point. For Prince William, the challenge was more than just about music. It was about identity, courage, and breaking free from a life scripted by others. Could he step forward and reveal a piece of himself that was usually kept hidden? Could he play with the passion and fire that the pianist expected? Could he face the fear of failing in front of the world? By the end of that unforgettable night, the Harmony for Hope Gala was no longer just a charity event. It had transformed into a stage for something far bigger, a moment where a royal, often seen only through the lens of duty and decorum, was forced to confront his doubts and fears in the spotlight. What began as a graceful evening became a powerful reckoning. Beneath glittering chandeliers, Prince William faced a rare challenge. Not as a royal, but as a man confronting fear and doubt, showing courage that moved the world. Has William played piano before? How will he meet the challenge? Reclaiming the melody. Deep within the quiet, often shadowy halls of Kensington Palace, where the heavy weight of royal duties usually drowned out any personal dreams, Prince William discovered a surprising source of comfort. A piano from his childhood that had long been forgotten. This piano was far more than just an old instrument. It was a magical doorway to simpler happier days. It held the soft echoes of his late mother, Princess Diana, who had lovingly encouraged his early love for music. Normally, the grand rooms of the palace buzzed with strict traditions and serious responsibilities. But now, in this rare silence, William found himself stepping back into his past. The piano, dusty and untouched for years, still carried the laughter, the lessons, and the tender moments of his youth. It was here, hidden among the memories of his upbringing, that he found a lost part of himself, a part that had been buried beneath the endless demands of royal life. The spark that brought him back to the piano was unexpected. At the Harmony for Hope Gala, a famous pianist named Lang Lang had challenged him. But this challenge wasn't just about showing off his musical skills to the world. It stirred something deeper inside William. It reminded him of a passion he had quietly pushed aside for so long. Away from the watching eyes of the public and the heavy expectations tied to his royal role, he began to practice again, in secret, in the peaceful corners of the palace. Every note he played was like a step backwards in time, a way to reconnect with the boy he once was. This wasn't about performing in front of crowds or winning praise. It was a private journey, a way to heal and express himself. The music became a safe place, a comforting refuge where he could feel close to his mother's spirit and relive the joy she had once shared with him. As days slipped into weeks, the piano grew to mean even more. It wasn't just an instrument anymore. It was a loyal friend on his path to finding who he truly was. Through every melody, William faced his fears, his uncertainties, and the crushing pressure of his royal duties.
I think royal duty is extremely important. I think it's part of the fabric of what the royal family and any future monarch has, and it's something that is very important, and I take duty very seriously. I take my responsibilities very seriously.
In those quiet, solitary moments, he discovered a new kind of strength, not from the crown he was born to wear, but from the person he was becoming beneath it. This deeply personal journey showed how strong the human spirit can be. It reminded William that even in a world filled with shining crowns and royal ceremonies, the most important and powerful discoveries happen in silence and solitude. Amid Kensington Palace's quiet halls, the forgotten piano became a symbol of healing and hope, helping Prince William embrace the man behind the crown. But was this effort confined to personal growth alone, or did his journey toward rediscovery take him beyond the piano bench? Let's find out. The Maestro and the Heir. Meet Sir Edward Avery, a pianist once celebrated around the world for his remarkable talent. Now living quietly, far away from the bright lights and applause of grand concert halls. Years had passed since he last performed on stage. The music world had moved on, and so had he. Yet everything changed when a very unusual request came from none other than Prince William himself. The prince wanted Sir Edward to come out of retirement and become his piano teacher. This was no ordinary lesson plan. It was a royal challenge, one that pushed the limits of both man and musician. For Sir Edward, it was a call to return to the discipline and passion that had defined his life. For Prince William, it was the beginning of a tough, demanding journey. Under the stern eyes of this uncompromising mentor, William's life quickly shifted. Days filled with royal duties and public appearances now gave way to evenings spent at the piano, where every note had to be perfect. The training was intense. Sir Edward was not interested in shortcuts or excuses. He demanded focus, precision, and a relentless dedication. Mistakes were not simply forgotten. They were examined and learned from. Every slip of a finger was a lesson in patience and resilience. The piano became a mirror, reflecting not only William's musical skills, but also his character. It was a test of endurance, discipline, and courage. Behind the palace's grand walls, a transformation was quietly taking place. The prince who once practiced speeches and wore the weight of the crown with careful composure, was now battling the demanding rhythms of classical music. The ticking of a metronome replaced the ticking of the clock that measured official ceremonies. His fingers, once unaccustomed to the piano keys, began developing calluses, signs of hard work and determination. This wasn't just about learning to play an instrument. It was about searching for something deeper. William wasn't just preparing for a performance. He was fighting to find his true self beneath the layers of expectation and tradition. With each practice session, he felt closer to an authenticity he rarely got to show. It became clear that this challenge was about more than music. It was about proving something vital to himself, to the world, and perhaps to someone he had lost long ago. The piano became a stage where royalty was stripped of its mask, revealing a man willing to struggle, to grow, and to connect with something real. As days turned into weeks, the royal and the musician slowly merged. The lessons went beyond notes and rhythms, touching on patience, humility, and inner strength. The future king was learning that power doesn't come only from titles or speeches, but from passion and perseverance. As the prince sharpened his skills and the mentor reclaimed his purpose, one thing became clear. The piano unlocked something deeper than music. But is this a new chapter for royalty, or an echo of the past? Let's explore the royal family's long-hidden musical legacy. When royalty meets music. It's a rare and precious thing when members of the royal family show their true, unguarded selves. One such unforgettable moment happened in 1983, when Princess Diana, usually reserved and shy, was gently encouraged to play the piano for an audience that was both eager and amazed. This touching scene unfolded during the famous Australian tour of Prince Charles and Princess Diana, just a few months after they had joyfully welcomed their first child, Prince William. The royals were visiting the Conservatoire of Music in Melbourne, a place filled with echoes of great musicians and the promise of artistry. There, the celebrated cellist Professor Henri Touzeau was showing off a variety of instruments to the visitors. Prince Charles took a seat and, with a playful smile, tried his hand at a few notes on the cello, charming the crowd with his effort. But when it came to Diana's turn, the atmosphere shifted. Unlike her husband, she was hesitant, reluctant to take the spotlight. Hundreds of reporters and photographers filled the room, cameras poised to capture every moment. Diana's usual grace seemed to give way to nerves. She wasn't eager to perform in front of such a large, watchful crowd. However, Professor Touzeau wasn't one to give up easily. With gentle encouragement, he persuaded the princess to step forward, over to the piano. Slowly but surely, Diana's confidence began to grow. In a spontaneous moment of courage, she tossed her handbag to the floor and climbed up to the piano bench with a determined look. Then, in a breathtaking display, she began to play. The room fell silent except for the notes flowing from her fingers. Diana played a stunning rendition of Rachmaninoff's Piano Concerto No. 2 in D minor, a complex and emotional piece that left the audience in awe. Photographers started clicking furiously, their flashes lighting up her focused face as she lost herself in the music. After a few moments, the princess suddenly stopped playing. Embarrassed, she jumped up from the piano and quickly tried to make her exit. But before she could leave, Professor Touzeau leaned in and kissed her cheek. A warm gesture of respect and admiration. The shy Princess Diana then hurried across the auditorium, her cheeks flushed as kind laughter rippled through the crowd. The mood was light, affectionate, and filled with genuine warmth. She disappeared into a back room, with Prince Charles quietly following close behind, a supportive presence by her side. This unforgettable moment at the piano revealed more than just Diana's hidden musical talent. It offered a glimpse into her true self, vulnerable yet courageous. Now let's dig into the private piano battle that transformed a young prince into a man. The silent struggle behind the keys. Every evening, as the grand palace grew quiet and the cheerful sounds of children's laughter faded into soft, peaceful dreams, Prince William would quietly slip away from the busy halls. He made his way to a small, dimly lit music room, hidden deep within the palace's ancient walls. There, like clockwork, sat Sir Edward Avery, a man known for his patient but firm manner, calmly sipping black tea while tapping his foot with quiet impatience. Their piano lessons were anything but easy or gentle. "You play too carefully," Sir Edward would say sharply. "You don't attack the keys, you ask permission." But William, who had spent most of his life under the heavy pressure of royal expectations, understood all too well what it meant to ask permission. When he told Sir Edward this, the answer was quick and unforgiving. "Then stop. The piano won't curtsy to you." The practice sessions were long and tough. William's fingers, not used to such demanding work, quickly became sore and stiff. His thumbs ached, and his pinkies trembled as they tried to keep up with the fast, exacting pace. But Sir Edward was relentless. He expected more than just correct notes and neat finger movements. He wanted passion, fire, and courage. For William, who had always lived in the bright, unrelenting spotlight of royalty, playing the piano was about more than just technical skill. It was about playing with heart, soul, and strength. Doubts often crept in during those late-night hours. How many princes had stumbled before him, crushed beneath impossible expectations? Yet night after night, the music sank deeper, not only into the piano's keys but into William's very soul. Outside the palace, William's secret love for music quietly grew. Underneath the grand dining tables during formal dinners, on fold-out trays during long flights, soft classical melodies quietly filled the moments between his royal duties. Even the palace driver noticed, joking about the ever-expanding Chopin playlist that seemed to follow William everywhere. Meanwhile, whispers began to swirl beyond the palace gates, mysterious Steinway piano boxes arriving, rumors of a royal recital in the making. Still, behind the palace's thick walls, silence was strict. Only Catherine, his wife, knew the full story. Often, she would quietly watch from the doorway, witnessing William's private battles with frustration, exhaustion, and fierce determination. She understood what drove him. It was something far deeper than music, a personal fight to find himself beyond the crown. Behind closed palace doors, William's piano journey was more than music. It was a quiet rebellion, a search for identity beyond royal expectations. Now, let's delve into how the piano became his bridge to Princess Diana. Echoes of Diana. Every evening, the Grand Palace fell silent, and after a tough lesson that ended with William slamming the piano lid in frustration and Sir Edward storming off mid-piece, he returned to their bedroom exhausted and defeated. He collapsed onto the edge of the bed, noticing a plain, unsealed envelope resting in the middle, addressed to Wills in Catherine's familiar handwriting. Inside, he found a faded photograph, a snapshot from his childhood. In it, Princess Diana sat at a piano, her posture hesitant yet filled with warmth. One arm wrapped around a young William, who gazed up at her with pure joy and admiration. On the back of the photo, Catherine had written a simple, heartfelt note. "She believed in you. So do I." At that moment, everything shifted. The piano ceased to be Sir Edward's domain of harsh critique and became a bridge to his mother's memory, a thread woven from warmth, encouragement, and love. In that envelope lay an emotional connection that words alone could not carry. It was a tangible reminder of Diana's faith in him and an affirmation of Catherine's unwavering support. William returned to the music room the next evening carrying something new with him: vulnerability. The lessons continued, but something had changed. He no longer played for perfection or to meet the stern standards of his tutor. Instead, he began to let emotion guide his fingers, letting the music flow from memory and love. Each key became a voice in a lullaby, a tender tribute to his mother, a melody shaped by longing and affection. Under Sir Edward's watch, William's approach changed too. The maestro noticed a subtle shift. The prince's playing had gained depth, nuances, and a richness of feeling that had been missing. Sir Edward's stern voice softened occasionally, replaced by nods of approval and rare words of praise. "Good," he murmured one evening, surprised by the richness that poured from William's touch. "Now, play like that." William's relationship with the piano transformed. What had once been a tool for discipline and critique evolved into a vessel for connection and healing. Each session became a passage through memory, an opportunity to feel his mother's presence again, even if only for the length of a song. The photo on his bedside table watched over him, a steady reminder of both where he came from and what he was working toward. Fellow members of the royal household began to notice the change. At formal dinners, whispers mentioned the softer Chopin William now favored. During long nights on royal visits, quieter melodies filled the corridors. The palace driver continued teasing him gently about new additions to his playlist: etudes, nocturnes, pieces filled with depth, nostalgia, and a touch of sorrow. But William didn't mind the attention. He was playing for something far more personal than public praise. His music had become his way of honoring Diana, an intimate tribute no crown or title could ever overshadow. With each rehearsal, he nurtured a connection to her spirit, returning to the boy she once cradled at a piano, filled with innocence and joy. Over time, what began as a crisis of confidence turned into a source of strength. The piano lessons, once shadowed by frustration and tough drills, became a journey of self-discovery and emotional healing. William was becoming more than a prince who played the piano. He was becoming a man carrying music in his heart, playing not for perfection, but for love. William's piano became a sanctuary, each note filled with echoes of Diana's love. What started as strict lessons blossomed into a deeply personal journey. After all his hard work, could he finally overcome his fear? Now, let's uncover Prince William's unforgettable performance at Royal Albert Hall. A night to remember. Word soon spread about Prince William's secret passion, and the world quickly caught wind of his piano journey. A blurry photograph leaked, a candid moment of William seated at the piano, fingers poised over the keys. That single image sparked a firestorm of headlines. Royal Showdown with Lang Lang. The prince takes on the piano legend. William's unexpected talent revealed. The tabloids pounced, eager for a story. Social media exploded with reactions. Some people mocked the idea of a prince trying to compete with a world-famous pianist, while others found inspiration in his courage to step out of the royal shadows and pursue something so personal and vulnerable. Despite the growing noise and pressure, William stayed calm and focused. He wasn't interested in fame or headlines. For him, the piano was a private battle, a test of will and heart. When the night of the concert finally arrived, the Royal Albert Hall shone brilliantly beneath the London sky, its grand arches filled with an electric buzz of excitement. Backstage, William appeared different from the polished image of royalty the public was used to. He wasn't wearing medals or a crown. He was simply a man, stripped down to his rawest self, ready to face not just Lang Lang, the brilliant Chinese pianist known worldwide, but also his own fears and doubts. Together on stage, William and Lang Lang performed a duet. It wasn't flawless or perfectly polished. In fact, there were moments of hesitation, uncertainty, and quiet mistakes. But those imperfections made the performance all the more powerful. The audience sensed something far deeper than technical skill, a genuine connection, a shared moment of honesty and courage. This was not a competition to prove who was better. It was a human moment. Two musicians from very different worlds coming together through the language of music. When the last note faded, a heavy silence filled the hall. Then, as if breaking through the spell, the first hesitant clap rang out. That single sound quickly grew louder, swelling into a roaring standing ovation. The crowd applauded not just the music, but the man behind it, the future king who dared to be imperfect, who dared to be real. Backstage, Catherine's warm embrace grounded William. Even Sir Edward Avery, known for his strictness and sharp criticism, nodded quietly in approval, a rare gesture from the stern teacher. Later, alone in the quiet of the music room, William played softly. This time, he wasn't practicing or performing for anyone else. He played to feel, to remember, to live through the notes. In that stillness, William wasn't just a prince learning the piano. He was a man who had discovered a new part of himself, stronger, braver, and more open. And if he listened closely, deep in the silence between each note, he could almost hear the soft, loving laughter of his mother, Diana, echoing gently in the space, reminding him that he was never truly alone. So, what do you think about Prince William's performance that left everyone speechless? We would love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to like and subscribe.